Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Motivate Property Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Jones, the owner and founder of Motivate Property Group, and thank you everyone for listening. Guys, this is the final show for 2025, and I thank you all for listening this year. It's been a bloody rough year to say the least, but look, we've almost made it, all right? And generally speaking, at this time of the year, it's always good to reflect on, where you're at, what you've done, but today's podcast is really all about next year and setting up ourselves for next year, goal setting, so that we can have the best year possible. Now, before I get into this, there are a couple of things that have sort of happened this week that I think is worth kind of touching on. I mean, obviously, over the last weekend, we had the worst terrorist attack in Australian history. I'm not going to get into any of the thoughts or comments on that, and there's probably a whole show to do on just that and the government incompetence. But at the end of the day, I think it's very important for us to really kind of get how important our culture is to us, and how important the state of mental health is across the board. Now, one of the unfortunate stories that we have had this week in WA is William Carter. All right, so William Carter is a young FIFO guy. For those in WA, and I'm sure some guys on the East Coast listening to this may have seen this story, but basically, young William got dropped off to the airport by his mum to go back to site for another swing. He didn't get on the plane. Instead, he got a taxi up to Trig, and then from there he basically disappeared. And so, for a couple of weeks there, he was one of the cases of people being disappeared. Now, unfortunately, they've just found his body. All right, and This is another one of those cases of us as a society not paying attention to the state of our mental health, and unfortunately, this is one of the impacts of that, right? And to say that our current suicide rate and look to say that our general state of mental health is poor is an understatement. Just to be clear, guys, one of the reasons why I started this business, specifically helping FIFO workers, was because of this. Now, while this is extraordinarily unfortunate and something that I wish we could end, I'm not a psychologist. I can't really help people with mental health. What I can help people, though, is with money, right? And that's really what we're here to do. Now, unfortunately, and I know I've said this before, and this is one of the things that I see on a daily basis. People don't work on the minds because they enjoy it. Generally speaking, they work on the minds because the money's good. But again, we get so caught up in going away and leaving our family and making these sacrifices of events and friends and family and all these different things purely to make money, and we're not paying attention to mental health, right? I mean, the amount of people, and even just when it comes to, I'm not even talking about suicides, right? I'm talking literally about just general life behavior. The amount of clients that we have that come to us and they want to invest, they want to get more, they want to do something with this money. And yet every weekend they're just pissing up a wall because they're so emotionally messed up from being away that all they want to do is come home, spend their money, have fun, flood their brain with dopamine, expend everything they've got. But then the problem is they're back to site the next week on the same hamster wheel and it's just rinse and repeat. Now, I'm going to put a little bet here. Now, there's no way to verify this bet, but I could almost put money on the fact that if William, if he had a couple $1 million in the bank and investments ticking away, paying him money, I could almost bet he probably wouldn't be doing fly and fly. He wouldn't be working in the mines. And so again, this is another really freaking sad story where William felt fucking hopeless. He felt stuck. He felt lost. He felt like that was his one and only option. And then yet here we are. All right. So as someone who's worked with many FIFO workers and helped many FIFO workers get out of FIFO by using property as a means of investing and building wealth and getting yourself out, this is exactly why we're here. All right. And these friggin' stories absolutely break my heart because there's so many things that people can do other than having that last final resort. All right. And I hope to God that someone listening to this show who is thinking of doing that, just hear me when I say there are other options out there. There's so many options out there for you to go and do. And seeing this and watching the story and following along and unfortunately seeing this happen time and time again in this industry, it's incredibly painful to see this once again in our newsfeed of another guy taking his life because he's just felt trapped and have no other options. So, like I said, I did want to voice that, guys, because it is incredibly sad, but this is exactly what we're here to do. This is exactly why I started this business. This is the help that we want to be able to provide people when it comes to their money and finances. All right. Now, to wrap up 2025, I can really only wrap this up in one way, and that's really goal setting, right? And obviously reviewing our goals from last year. And so, for those who've been listening to the show for quite some time, you'll know that last few years, the last episode we do is planning and goal setting for 2026, for next year. Now, if you have been listening to this show and you did follow my instructions last year, you're going to have your goals on basically one piece of paper. What I want you to do, I want you to go and get those goals, right? And have them in front of you right now while you listen to this. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to ask you a series of questions that I want you to reflect on before we start writing your goals for 2026. The first question, out of your list of goals, what did you achieve? Question 2, what didn't you achieve? All right, so just first exercise, tick or a cross. What did you do? What didn't you do? Now, based on where you are today, question number 3, are you satisfied with what you achieved and what you didn't achieve? So do you believe that this year was a success? Yes or no? Are you satisfied? Yes or no? All right. Now, whether you're satisfied or whether you're not satisfied is going to be the first indication of whether you're on the right track or not. Now, if you are someone who is satisfied, good, let's repeat this exercise. For those who aren't satisfied, I get it, but there's a couple of things we need to do. We either need to reset some goals a bit more realistically, or there might be some more actions that you might need to start scheduling in and ensure so you can take the actions appropriate to hit those goals, right? But again, I'm going to leave that to you and that's going to be in your court. Now, for the goals that you didn't achieve, today, look at those goals you didn't achieve. Are those goals today still relevant? In a lot of cases, they may not be, right? And that's absolutely fair enough, right? So, so there are some people who, one of the guys that I was talking to at the end of last year, he had a certain goal today, doesn't really want to hit that goal. He hasn't hit it, right? Because it's just not relevant to his life anymore. Fair enough. Piss it off, right? Scratch it off. Let's not put it on there for next year. Now, with the goals that you didn't hit, if it is still relevant, let's make that as a goal for 2026, all right? So that's going to be a goal for next year. And then the final question will then be, what are your goals going to be for 2026? And then we start writing those down. Now, as you guys know, I like to break up the goals into different areas of your life. Think about your home. Think about your family and friends. Think about health and fitness. Think about money and career. Money and finances, and then work and career. Think about hobbies and interests, making a difference. Every area of your life, break it down into the different areas and think about setting certain goals if there are things that you want to achieve. Now, to help guide you guys, so I've got a document here that I use with my team. Now, this document I call the integrity checks. This is more of like a self-in check, but really what it does is it actually helps kind of highlight what the different areas of your life are. Now, keep in mind, you only want to write a goal for an area that you're trying to improve. So if, let's just say hypothetically, that let's just say it's home environment, right? If you love the home you're in, you love all your furniture, you love everything about it, it's literally a 10 out of 10, there's nothing that you can do to improve, it may not be realistic or relevant to start setting goals for your home environment because you're already at your goal, right? However, if you want to upgrade your home or get new furniture or reconfigure or renovate or if there's something that you want to do inside that realm, then obviously we want to start writing some goals for 2026 in that realm, right? So here are some areas. Relationship. So that would be with your spouse, right? So your significant other. Family and friends. Write some goals for your family and friends if you've got them, all right? Goals, that is, not family and friends. Most of you have family and friends. It's okay. Health and well-being, right? That's a very important area. Money and finances. Work and career. Sex and intimacy. Home environment. Fun and leisure. Hobbies and interests. Spirituality and faith. Making a difference and legacy. Relationship to yourself. And then any other area that you think is relevant to you and what you want to be doing. It could be around travel, right? That could be a great area that you want to have a goal in. Now, once you've broken up your life into all these different categories, All right. We then want to start working out, well, what do you want to start improving for how you want to live? So if, for example, travel is something that's really important to you, you've got some travel goals, make sure under travel you put your goals in. If, for example, let's just say spirituality and faith, you want to start going to church, let's start writing some realistic goals, right? So when it comes to goal setting, and I also want to bring this up as a resource. For those who remember from last year, we want to start writing SMART goals. SMART goals, and SMART's an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So as an example, if one of your goals in the realm of spirituality and faith is you want to start, attending church, the first question I would have, make it specific. I want to start attending this particular church at this address and this location. Measurable. How often? Like, how can you quantify that? Do I want to go to church weekly? Do I want to go to church monthly? Do I just want to go to church once and that's it? Right? Once for the entire year. Is that going to actually help you, reach your goal? If your goal is you want to start going to church regularly, well, how's regularly? Is that weekly? Is it daily? Is it monthly? Again, your goal. Achievable. Is that goal actually achievable? So let me put it this way. Let's say, for example, your goal was to become an astronaut. All right? And to be fair, I think that's a pretty freaking cool goal. I'd love to be an astronaut. However, if you want to be an astronaut and start going on missions to the moon by April, and you have got no experience, you've never been to the moon, you've never even spoken to NASA before or any space agency, the chances are it's probably not that achievable for you to start, thinking you can become an astronaut by April and start going to the moon by April, right? I know that's a very, very weird example, but you kind of get the point. Is your goal relevant? All right, so is you going to church? Let's say you get to the end of the year and you've been going to church, right? You've been going to church regularly as desired by what your goal is and what you've got in your mind today. If at the end of the year,
whether you're buying your first home or third or fourth investment property, Motivate Finance Team has you covered, finding the best lender to fit your needs. And here's the truth. If you haven't reviewed your lending in the last 12 months, you're probably overpaying. Banks reward new customers, not loyal ones. We review your structure, compare lenders, and build a finance strategy that actually supports your long-term goals. Whether you're refinancing, upgrading, or building your portfolio, your lending setup matters more than you think. Visit motivateproperty.com.au/finance to get started.
That you've hit your goal, but it's created no difference, no relevance to your life in any way, shape, or form. That's probably not a relevant goal, right? So we've got to make sure the goals are relevant. Now, here's the key with relevancy. If the goal isn't relevant in reality, now sure, it might be an aspiration, but if it's not actually relevant, your central nervous system is not going to be planting the seeds and doing the work required to actually achieve it. So once again, let's just say, for example, and I'm just going to think of another really bad example, but let's just say that, one of your goals is to take your family on a holiday to Ireland, right? So, let's just say, I want to take my family to Ireland up in, Northern Europe. But my family have zero interest in going to Ireland. And I really want to set that goal and go take them to Ireland because I want to take them to Ireland and I think they really want to go to Ireland. But the point is, they don't want to go to Ireland. So we're probably not going to be going to Ireland, right? So again, we've got to make sure that the goal is actually relevant to what you want and the outcome that you want. And then time bound. It has to be specific on time, right? If I say I just want to go to church and I don't put any time bound in that, if I go to church once, then technically I've hit the goal.
If you're overwhelmed by property investing, you're not alone. Most people waste months researching the wrong suburbs, stressing over inspections, and second-guessing every decision. Motivate Property cuts through all of that. We analyse the data, shortlist the strongest opportunities, inspect on your behalf, and negotiate so you don't overpay. The result is simple: a property that actually performs and moves you closer to financial freedom. Learn more at motivateproperty.com.au.
But if that's not what's going to satisfy me and I want to be able to go to church every single week, you've got to make it time specific and time bound. So it's very important to use the acronym SMART goals to structure these goals. So that way you can make sure that they're specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. You can actually get the best chance of succeeding and winning them. Now, just to reflect with some of my goals, right? Now, to be clear, I hit some of my goals this year and I did hit some of them, right? So one of the ones that I did hit, one example was health and fitness. Now, one of my health and fitness goals was as soon as I wake up in the morning, every morning, I don't touch my phone straight away, right? I was in a bad habit last year of as soon as I wake up, you automatically pull up, your social media, you start seeing all the notifications, and then all of a sudden you're doom scrolling for 45 minutes before you realize, holy shit, I'm now late for work, right? Not that I was late for work, but that's what some people do experience. And I did experience my dopamine receptors just getting friggin' fried before I even get out of bed, right? Because I'm now chasing that dopamine and doom scrolling. So the point is for me, I wanted to set a realistic goal around my morning habits. And that's why obviously this was really important for me in terms of health and fitness. So when I wake up, no phone. Get sunlight into my eyes as soon as I wake up. Drink half a glass of water, right? So it's physically half a glass. That way there's water, coming into my system straight away. And then spend 10 minutes grounding onto the earth, right? So that's just basically standing on the ground with no shoes. That was basically my goal for health and fitness. And safe to say, right now in 2025, I've hit that goal. Every day, that's what I'm doing, right? And I feel shit ton better than what I did, say, last year. So that's a really good example of a health and well-being goal that I set that I've hit. Now, this year, one of my work and career goals for our Motivate Realty, so our real estate agency, was to hit 150 properties. We haven't, we've only hit 130, right? So didn't hit that goal. So that's going to be something that I'm going to have for this year. Now, money and finances. One of my goals was to get 2 more developments, like property developments, off the ground. I achieved that, right? So we hit that, right? Next year, I've obviously got a few more that I want to set that goal for. But the reality is that's a goal that I hit. Friends and family. All right, so one of my goals when it comes to friends and family was to book a honeymoon for me and my wife, and I did not do that. So that's a goal that I did not hit that I'll be sending into next year. Fun and hobbies. One of my goals for 2025, for those who remember, one of my goals was to get really good at claw machines. Now, when I say get really good, I wanted to get to a point where I could walk up to a claw machine and basically take a toy with me. All right, so I wanted to turn claw machines into basically a vending machine. All right, if you guys know what I mean. Safe to say, today in 2025, I have a 50% strike rate from all the claw machines that I've touched in 2025. Now, what that looked like, every single time I saw a claw machine, I put money in it and I played it. Right now, obviously having young kids, kind of cool to be able to take a toy home to them that's fairly cheap every time I have a claw machine. But the reality is, obviously, don't have a 100% strike rate. It was only around 50%. So for basically half of the claw machines that I touched, I was able to take out a toy. All right. So that for me is a goal ticked. And obviously, going into 2026, it'd be cool to maintain that, particularly while I've got young kids. Now, with hobbies and interests, there was a goal that I didn't hit. So I did not get my jiu-jitsu black belt this year. All right, so that's going to be one of my goals for next year. But that's something that I didn't hit this year. Making a difference. The goal was to donate 10 grand to charity, and that's one thing that we have hit. So I did want to share that with you guys, purely to not give you the illusion that I'm someone who just sets goals and hits all of them. I'm kind of like you. I'm only going to probably hit half of them, because some of them are probably a little bit too ambitious and outside of what I could have achieved. But that's the point. See, the point is not to be perfect. The point is progress. It's not about hitting all of them. It's about moving in the right direction. Now, this fundamentally is the key to goal setting. Goal setting is about you today, at the end of 2025, creating what you want 2026 to look like. You literally are a creator of your life. You are a creator of your universe. Now, I know, there are some shows, some movies out there, one in particular, for example, The Matrix, right? Where everyone's living in a simulation and, when it comes to things like manifestation and manifesting what you want and positive thinking and all these, great things, I can literally sit here and tell you, hand on heart, you have the ability to create your life. I know it doesn't feel like it. This is why we goal set. We goal set so that you can create the life that you want to live. And it's not about being perfect. It's not about hitting them all. It's about moving in that direction. So it might, if you have a goal, right? And let me give you guys that easy example of work and career. One of my goals was to hit 150 properties, and we hit 130.
If your investment property is being managed, but you're still dealing with stress, vacancies, or tenants who don't respect the home, you don't have a property manager. You have a problem. Motivate Realty runs property management the way it should be done. Clear communication, strict tenant screening, proactive maintenance, and complete transparency so your property stays protected and your rental income stays consistent. If you want a property manager who actually treats your investment like a business, visit motivateproperty.com.au/realty.
Does that mean that I failed? No. It means that next year we will definitely hit 150. But instead of it taking a year, it probably took a little bit longer. It's irrelevant. The point is I'm moving in the right direction. And now next year when I set the next set of goals that's even bigger than the 150, and the year after when I set those set of goals, I might not hit them. In fact, I might not hit my work and career goals at all for the next 10 years. But by the time I get to that 10-year mark, I'm so much further ahead, and I'll be living a life way bigger than what year one Corey ever thought was possible. That is goal setting, right? And that's the importance of making sure you put pen to paper and hold yourself accountable to do this. Now, one thing that I can't guarantee with this is you will achieve these goals. What I can guarantee is if you put this habit in place every year, it's only a matter of time until you actually do hit them. Like I was saying, it might take you 2 years, it might take you 4. There might be a goal that you want to achieve in 5 years, it might take you 20. But the point is, if you have this habit of goal setting, I can almost guarantee you will achieve it at some point. All right? It's just a matter of taking actions in line with that. Now, to wrap up this show, right, and this is obviously the last show of 2025, I firstly want to thank you all as listeners for listening to this show. All right? Your support, your feedback, the love that you guys have shared, the words you guys have shared, it really does inspire me and keeps this show moving. And I really, really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. As for most of you guys know me personally, I'm probably one of the most introverted people that you're ever going to meet. So you can imagine getting on camera on a weekly basis is pretty bloody uncomfortable, right? But magic happens when you're outside of your comfort zone, all right? And if there is anything that I can say to you, get comfortable by being uncomfortable, right? That's how you're going to grow, right? And so this is just another example of me doing what I can to grow for me personally too. So I really do appreciate you guys listening to this. I do hope that I've given you guys lots of value, and I hope to bring you a lot more value in 2026. Now, I also just want to share as well, the other week when Spotify do their yearly wrap-up, we also had a bunch of clients who actually shared with us the fact that this show was in their top 5 podcasts. So for those clients and listeners, thank you. Like, I just want to say, let's just say my day was made when I started seeing those come through, right? And again, it is hard for me because all I see at the back end of the numbers, like I don't actually really kind of see the impact this show is making. So to see that and to see people proudly sharing the fact that we were in your top 5, super, super grateful. Now, I do want to make a couple of quick shout outs to some of those guys. So firstly, my man Denzel, he sent me the fact that this show's in the top 5. So dude, I really appreciate your support. We also had Sarah, Rochelle, James, and one of our clients, Clint Barrett, right? So Clint, you're a legend, man. So I really do appreciate you guys sharing that. Just so you guys know, I do look at everything and I do watch it all. So seeing those come through friggin' made my week. So I really do appreciate you guys. Now, as we wrap up this year, I do want to thank those clients over the next couple of weeks who are working, right? Because I do know a lot of our clients don't have the ability to take a break. For those who are on site, for those who are working and sacrificing, just know that one day this will be worth it. I promise you, all right? Being away, I mean, I've been away for Christmases and birthdays and I've been at sea, having to work instead of being at home with family. While these Christmases are going to be really freaking hard for you, it will be worth it, right? As long as you're putting these goals in practice and putting your money to work, this will become worth it at some point. But I just want to acknowledge the fact that you guys are the ones who are sacrificing, keeping this country moving while the rest of us take leave. So I appreciate the shit out of you guys. Now, as we wrap up the year, please be grateful. Gratitude is one of those things that most of us, in a lot of cases, and I'm saying this as myself, like I feel like I'm too busy to be grateful sometimes, but that's a trap, right? At this time of the year, it is incredibly important to be grateful for what you've got, right? For the people around you, for the friends you have, for the loved ones you have. Hug them and love them and appreciate the shit out of them, right? At the end of the day, we're here for 100 years if we're lucky, right? And for some guys listening to this, we're probably a third, if not half the way through that. It's super important to make sure that the people that are around you know how much you care, because you showing that care is sometimes the thing that makes or breaks them. The impact that you can have for other people is extraordinary, right? Be grateful and just love the people, because the more love you put out there, guys, the more love you're going to get back. That's how karma works. Now, to finish up, I wish you guys all an amazing Christmas, a great new year. I'm hoping that everyone listening to this has a freaking fantastic time and an even bigger 2026. Genuinely do. For anyone who wants any help, we're always here, right? Any questions, any comments, anything that you guys want, I want to make sure that next year we're improving on what we're doing and we're doing even better, right? I want to provide more value. I want to educate way more. I want to give you guys as much as I possibly can. Let us know what that is so we can provide that, right? Only one way I can finish this. Thank you for 2025 and stay motivated.